We're good?
Okay, good. Yep. Start.
Sleep time's over at Cabin the Catalyst. DJ Zach Morris. Season 8, Episode 2.
Yes.
A special episode.
And we're just going to go right off the bat. The name of this
Yeah.
is our special guest. Who'd have thought? We have Senator.
Yeah.
Donna Mercado Kim is here joining us. How about it?
Hey, happy to be here in Macaulay.
Oh, I tell you.
It used to be next to Macaulay Chop Suey.
Yeah, did you
Yes.
eat there?
Absolutely, love the food there.
Who didn't, right?
Yeah, of course.
And then across the street used to be Love's Bakery.
Yep.
Was Love's Big where? At the back?
Where Piney Jigger was.
Pine and Jigger was?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Well, and down the road is the old stadium.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys might be too young for that.
I was
we're
young.
old.
I remember.
Don't worry.
I heard stories. Heard stories.
Well, thank you very much for being here.
Yes,
I tell
thank you
what,
very much.
This is going to be good times.
Yeah.
Good times to be had.
Well, I'm happy to be here. It looks like a fun podcast. So
Okay, okay.
let's have fun.
You've done a few podcasts before, though, right?
I've done radio. I've DJed
Okay.
actually way back when, KIKI. Used to
Oh,
DJ
yes.
Sundays, oldies but goodies. And then I used to do the calendar, community calendar from
Oh,
Kuma
okay.
Radio.
Okay.
And then I did a bit with Fred Hemmings. We did Equal
Wow.
Time.
Wow.
Democrat, Republican,
Oh, right.
male, female.
He said, she said thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
it was a morning show that we did in the mornings, 5 days a week. And
Yeah.
it was interesting having to wake up early because I am not a morning person.
Well, who is really?
So that was before your career, political career, or is that during?
Actually, it was during.
Okay.
During, yes. And I knew Jeff Coelho, who was the station manager and the radio manager for these radio stations.
You can see this movie. Yeah. Got Lisa coming in, the assistant to the stars. So everybody here has a title. So all our guests is something to the stars.
To the stars.
So you're our senator to the stars.
Okay.
Okay, we have a friend that's a graphic designer. We just call him the graphic designer to the stars.
But being
Very
that this
creative,
is
you
a
know?
special,
Very
is it?
Yeah.
Being this a very special guest though.
Yeah.
You could say, and it just popped into my head.
Okay,
now,
okay.
These things that just come to me. The Queen of Kalihi.
Oh
Oh,
my God, I don't know.
yeah?
Would that be?
Was that too much?
Would we
Too much
use
pressure?
royalty? With all.
Well, I've been referred to the Titta from Kalihi.
Oh,
Well,
you can do that too.
There's that, but certain other filing of paperwork.
Valley
you need to-
Girl.
Valley Girl.
Oh,
Right?
there you
Kalihi
go.
Valley.
What part of Kalihi did you grow up?
I grew up in Kalihi, Palama.
Kalihi,
And I lived about a block and a half away from Palama Settlement.
Okay,
And I
okay.
practically lived at Palama Settlement.
Wow.
I learned to swim there, I
Yeah.
learned to shoot pool, chess, learned to play chess, cooking classes, hula classes.
So they knocked
Workshop
down that
classes.
the building, right?
Well, they knocked down the dentist part.
Oh, the dentist part.
Remember,
Oh,
used to
yeah.
get 10 cents or 20 cents where
Wow.
they would drill your teeth all the way to your gums.
Wow, that sounds
Okay,
delightful.
that
doesn't it?
sounds awesome.
It was awful. But Palama was wonderful. If not
Right.
for Palama, I don't know where I'd be.
So what are they doing in the old dentist area now?
I think they're going to build a, I don't know.
There used to be pro wrestling there. Do you remember that they used to have back in the early 90s, late 80s? Palama Settlement would have.
Really?
So maybe that had coincided with the drilling of the dents. I don't know. If that really.
No, I don't think.
There's a pro wrestler called the Dentist.
But across
And
the
that's
street, used to be a park, and they called it Bebe Park, not Baby Park, but
Okay.
Bebe Park.
Where the gas station is.
Well, right next to the gas station where those apartments
Yeah,
are.
that was a
yeah,
park.
There was a park.
Oh,
right
okay.
there,
Oh.
yeah. See, you guys weren't born yet.
Wow. Okay.
I'm dating myself. But yeah, I grew up there, and then we moved in high school years. We moved to Camforth Road.
Oh,
So I
okay.
lived by Rose Street, next to the Casimeros.
Right, right.
Mufi Hanneman was my neighbor, and yeah.
Wow.
So
Well,
So maybe you and Mufi can do radio because he's doing radio
is
too,
radio.
right?
he has an oldies show. Does he still have that on the air? Like Saturday mornings, he's
Yeah.
playing like.
from 12 to 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
So is that like your future plans later on, while after you finish your political career, jump back on the radio?
I don't know. It just happened, and I enjoy doing it, and so hey, whatever comes.
Nice.
Right, and how has everything been as you're going to this next step here?
Yes, it's been a very hectic, very
Yeah.
busy. We just ended the legislative session
Yeah.
about 2 weeks ago, and I've been campaigning
Yeah.
vigorously, 24/7. You can ask Lisa; she'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's,
Right, that's a great segue to ask you as far as campaigning goes, and with Hawaii voter turnout the way it's been, and how it's been always been documented as being very low. What in 2018 is the strategies to reach out, especially like people under the age of 40? Those the younger people stereotypically they don't vote. We don't know what they do. What's the strategy there going in?
Well, it's sad that people don't exercise their right to vote.
Right.
There are countries and people in different countries that are fighting for that right to vote.
Right.
So we've tried several things. I've introduced several years vote by mail. Instead of having to go on a particular day to the voting booths, that you can send in your mail by ballot. And we've done that for neighborhood board member elections. We've done that for special elections, and it's worked. And we have found that 60% of the people that voted in the last election voted by mail, absentee ballots.
Right.
You can also walk into City Hall
Yes.
10 days before, and you can vote. And that's kind of when I usually vote, because on that day of the election, it's usually crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do 10 days before. Oh, City Hall only.
City Hall, they
Oh.
open it up 10 days before the election.
So maybe they could do that with different satellites.
I believe there is one other area, I can't recall, but I thought there's another satellite area that you can walk in and vote as well.
Right.
The voter turnout, we had the worst in the nation
Oh,
last
yeah.
election in 2016, 34.8% turnout.
Unreal.
And yeah, that was the lowest.
That's
in
throughout the state.
Throughout the state.
For the record, I voted. Gavin, you voted.
I voted.
So,
Of course I
we're
voted.
100% here. So.
Yeah.
And I actually went down to Honolulu.
Yeah, it's pretty easy, right?
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
The process is pretty easy.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think
Okay, the question is, did you take a written ballot or did you do an electronic ballot?
well, I'm trying to keep young. Electronic. We're sticking electronic. I'm not, don't
Well,
give me a
I
pen.
took a paper,
Really?
I'm still old fashioned and I'm worried about, electronics. Maybe my button might not work. or it might
yeah.
go
No, that's
wrong.
very true.
Right.
So is that the reason why the holdup of not doing online voting is the case? That people just haven't figured that out yet?
Well, some jurisdictions on the mainland have done it. And the fact is they're concerned about the security
Right.
Yeah.
and whether or not this information will get out if somebody can hack it.
Right.
But right now, all of the results I believe is transferred electronically.
Right.
From the neighbor islands and stuff. So we do a lot of stuff electronically already.
Already.
So, and there are ways to secure it.
Right.
But
Right,
I
that
would
has
think
to be the
that's
next
gonna
phase.
come. That has to be, except
Right.
Hawaii's we're behind in the sense that we haven't even done vote by mail. And every year that I've introduced the bill, every year it's gone all the way to conference. Nobody votes no on the measure, yet it
Yeah.
dies in conference. It dies in conference.
Huh.
This year, they passed out a pilot project in Kauai. So in 2020, you get to vote by mail. Only Kauai gets to vote all mail.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know
Okay.
why they only did Kauai, because
Right.
Honolulu has been doing it for not absentees, but yes, absentee ballots,
Right.
but we've done the neighborhood board elections, and it's worked. So, and just think of all the schools, we don't have to use their facilities, we
Yeah.
don't have to pay all these poll workers.
Right.
So we would actually save money
Save
as
money,
well,
right.
save your tax.
Because it's
dollars.
free, right? You don't have to put a stamp on or anything, just put it in the mail and it.
Is that an issue?
I think it is free, I forget.
Proposal?
forget.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone that
Lisa, do
far.
you know if it's free?
It's got
Yes,
to be.
okay,
Yeah.
there you go, thank
Yes,
you.
it is. And they're gonna have boxes around town that you can drop it off.
Oh,
Ah.
special
Right.
boxes.
Or you can take it down to City Hall, or you can still, on election day, we're gonna have City Hall open. So people who still wanna walk in
Okay.
can just go down to City Hall on election day. So we'll still have
Oh,
that,
okay.
but we won't have it at all the schools, we
Yeah.
have to have poll workers and so forth, yeah.
And speaking of the different methods of making voting easy, as far as the voters themselves, as far as you're legally able to vote at 18,
Right.
but how many people 18 really take advantage of that? So what would be your way to reach out if a person between 18 and 25 was here? What would you tell that person as far as a way to?
Well, I would try to get the schools, first of all, when you're a senior in school, to get them to register.
That makes
You know,
sense,
all
yeah.
the kids need to fill out a ballot.
Yeah.
And we have 50% of the people eligible to vote are registered. And then, of course, we have 34% of those registered to vote, voted. So less than a quarter percent of the people are voting. So it's one thing to get them registered, it's another thing to get them to come to the polls, right? You
Right.
can lead a horse to water, you can't force it to drink.
Right.
So that's the concern that we have. How do you encourage them to vote? And we thought about ways of incentives. Take your receipt that you voted, drop it in a box, and there'll be a drawing or
Right.
something.
Because I
Kind
think,
of lottery.
isn't it a law that employers got to give you time off to vote, right?
Yes, I believe it's
Yeah.
2 to 4 hours. They
Yeah.
give you time off,
So
and
what-
you have to bring your receipt in. And
What if
show
you're
it.
like independent business people like me and Aaron? Can we turn that into to you guys and give you 2 hours of pay?
Listen to
I don't
you.
think so. I tell you what, you turn it in to Zach, and then he'll give you 2 hours off, and Zach will turn it in to you and give you 2 hours off. How's that?
Yeah, that's
I'll
like
buy
a
lunch
process.
then.
That's pretty
I'll buy
good.
lunch.
You know, I'm just gonna do my right.
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't need anything of any handout.
Just-
Right.
So who's-
you
who's-
need an incentive, right?
Who's in charge? Like, is there a committee or is there like somebody that's in charge for voter turnout? Like, is there some kind of, like, I don't know, do you guys create?
We have the elections office.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, the elections commission.
So they're not doing their job technically, or they're not reaching out, they're not reaching
Well,
creating new
education-
ways to,
Education is one way, but I think everybody knows about voting. You really don't have to educate them.
It's a
about
convenience, you
voting.
think, the factor? Just making it just because people are just.
Well, there's very reasons. One, people are complacent.
oh, yeah. Yeah, we know
and
that.
two, they don't feel that they've got many choices when they go to the ballot,
Right.
right? When they go to vote. So, and then they're just sick of politics,
Yeah.
right? And they feel that it's not helping them. But what they gotta remember, and this is what I tell the school kids when they come to visit me, is that, government affects your life.
Yeah.
And so we will pass laws that will dictate how much money you take home, how much your parents will take home because of the taxes that we take out, what you can and cannot do. You can't talk on your phone anymore in the cars. You need to put on your seatbelts. You need to, and some of those things are very good. They're safety, and we
Right.
need to protect our people. But at the same time, it does intrude into your personal lives. And so if you don't like what's going on with government, then you need to do something
Right.
about it. Okay, you can't sit back and say, I give up. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm running for Congress. And they say, oh, what can you do? There's 435 of you in Congress. You can't barely make a difference. Well, if you're going to have that attitude, then you're never going to try. You're never going to do anything.
Right.
True.
So I always talk about the starfish story. You folks know the starfish story, right?
That was a long time I've heard that, but yeah. That's an interesting one you're pulling out, yes.
Yes.
Retell that for everyone. Kevin, you know this one? I've
You
heard
know
this
what?
one.
I vaguely do, but I would love a reminder of Starfish
Let's
story.
go, this will be a good inspiration.
Yes.
You know what? That's the creative way I've heard of you guys saying, I don't know the story, so can you tell it to me?
Usually you see how we word things here on the show.
Well, basically, it's a little girl walking along the beach, and this man watching sees her throwing stuff into the ocean, and he watches her, and he sees it bending down, throwing in the ocean, and he looks and he looks and he sees that there's all the starfish, hundreds of starfish all along the beach because the tide had gone out, and so he walks up to the girl and he goes, what are you doing? And she says, well, I'm trying to save the starfish, and he looks down and he goes, there's so many of them. How are you going to even make a difference? And she picked it up and she threw one in and she goes, well, it made a difference to that one. So if
There
you
you
can
go.
make a difference to one person, if you can help one person, which is what I try to do, then you've made a difference.
Right.
And if you give up and you refuse to even help one, then all is lost.
Right.
So
Wow.
Right. Well said.
Very inspiring.
yeah.
I want to go out
That's
and
very
start a
true.
business now.
Now you want to go pick up starfish.
Pick up starfish, I was gonna say, we'll
I
be so on.
When was the last one to the beach and seen a starfish
Oh
though?
my God. Talking about that, I haven't been to the beach in years, and
Well,
I need to go and jump in the salt
Well, I'm
water.
whiter than all you guys, so therefore I've done, okay, so.
I know, we take it for granted.
We do,
When
we
I
do.
went away
Oh,
to
yeah.
school, in my college years away at school, I remember my classmates and my sorority sisters would say, oh my God, it's so hard to live in Hawaii and go to school there, because I went to UH 2
Right.
years before transferring. You guys must always be at the beach. And I go, I haven't been to the beach for like 4 years. They go, what? You haven't
Yeah.
been to the beach? I said, no, because it's there.
Yeah.
It's there, so you
Right.
don't go. Because,
Yeah, that's classic.
You can go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we take advantage. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
we
wish-
don't take advantage of everything.
Yeah, I wish I could go to the beach.
Yeah. Which you had time.
Should close up and just go to the beach. We had the
We're
podcast
going
at the
immediate
beach.
at the beach,
Yeah,
yes,
why
we'll
didn't we do
find
this at the
battery.
beach?
Wind.
Oh,
Yeah, there's
That's why.
a sound factor.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in regards of like the olden and trying to keep things traditional, but then things are changing and we take things for granted. When it comes to things like, let's go with the first one. Let's go with kakako. Wanted to bring this one up. It's how all the changes in kakako, everything's all reimagining over there. If that were to happen in your neighborhood, growing
Beautiful
up,
Kalihi, you know?
which they have kind of talked about doing.
Right. With the prison, trying to move the
Right,
prison
right.
around.
They're trying to get into
Triple
like
C.
some kind of yeah. What do you think of that? What would your take be on if Kalihi was be next to get reimagined?
Well, I believe it's time for Kalihi to get reimagined.
Okay.
You don't want to lose the character of Kalihi, but you also want to improve it. You want to redevelop them in such a way that, our roads, we have the worst roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most potholes on King Street by Gliwick Avenue. It's awful. They said they were going to do it. The city was going to do it last August, and here we are in May, and it still hasn't been done.
Yeah.
And I've seen them repave roads elsewhere. It was not as bad, so it's worse. And I've been to Vietnam recently and saw that they don't have, the whole time I was there, I didn't see one pothole. Can you believe that? And
Yeah.
it rained and did all this stuff and all the weather, and I didn't see one pothole. And yet here in Hawaii, we've got roads worse than that in Vietnam. So something's
Interesting.
Wow.
They got cars on cars, right? Just
yeah,
going
something
everywhere.
is wrong with that.
Oh, interesting.
But we need, the drainage problem in Kalihi,
Yeah.
the lower part of Kalihi, as you get closer to Dillingham and Nimitz, it floods every time it rains.
Right.
And but part of the problem, especially in Kalihi Valley, is that there's not enough land to put in sidewalks, and so the kids have to walk along the road, and it's very dangerous. But in order to put in sidewalks, they'd have to take property from the homeowners,
Yeah.
condemned property, and because it's so narrow already that they would lose the lot, they would lose their homes.
Right.
And so therein lies the problem, because when it was developed years and years ago, they didn't have the building code, the zoning codes
Yeah.
that required setbacks and
So
so.
you grew up in the valley. So you
I
kinda,
grew up in Kalipalama,
Oh, Kalipalama,
but
sorry.
I have relatives that live in the valley, and
Right.
I represent the valley area, and I constantly am there, whether it's walking door to door or it's meeting with the communities.
How would you retain that Kalihi vibe, that Kalihi feeling, as well as, and then try to develop around that?
Well, we had Kalihi revisioning when we were looking at the possibility of getting back the old CCC area and moving the prison. And
Yeah.
we had various meetings with the community and all the stakeholders, including the community college and the nonprofits, Kamehameha schools. Everybody kind of participated to say, okay, what is our vision for Kalihi? And what came out of those meetings is that we wanted to retain some of the character of Kalihi, where people can come together and not lose that, but at the same time improve and have facilities there that people can come together and gather, and also retail establishments. But you notice that on the Nimitz area down below, that you have businesses on the ground level, and you have mixed use, people living upstairs in
Yeah.
their units and stuff. And then you have a lot of multifamily units living in areas and stuff. So just kind of cleaning up Kalihi and providing more services for the people there.
Right. So that is in the foreseeable future then, as far as this has been talked about, and is this something gonna go down soon, as far as like just small things, or
Well,
the prison, for example?
Yeah, the decision has not been made
Yeah.
to move the prison or where to move the prison.
Okay.
And so we began this committee, Kalihi, it's actually called 21st Century Kalihi Vision Committee. And we started that back in August of 2016. So it's going to be almost 2 years. And this kind of planning does take a lot of time to bring people together. And
Right.
everybody don't always agree.
Right.
So it's continuing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after they presented or published their findings, of course, there were people that didn't agree with it, and people who didn't participate, and people said, oh, we didn't know that it was going on. So you can never please all of the people all
Right.
the time.
Right. And that's pretty much a stalemate for all these issues.
Yes,
Right.
and rail has a big role in all of this, because the rail is coming down Dillingham Boulevard.
Right.
And so part of that revisioning was, how do you incorporate rail? How do you incorporate TOD, which is transit-oriented development, and also build apartments and units nearby the rail, so people don't have to get into their cars and people can just get onto the rail line.
Right.
Do you see the rail with all of the issues with it? Are they gonna just finally just put it on the street? Are they just, as far as bringing it from Middle Street to Ala Moana, presumably can you see it still being pillared out, or are they gonna be like, we're just gonna have to bring it onto the street at this
The
point?
plan is to pillar it out,
Yeah.
so I don't see how they're going to
Okay.
bring it onto the street.
It's gonna be
Right.
right in the middle of Dillingham.
It's not the plan.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
But I had proposed that we stop at the Tower. I know there are people who said, let's stop at Middle Street, which is where our bus facility is. But it doesn't make sense to stop at Middle Street
Right.
because you still, the bulk of the people will go into downtown. That's still where we
Yeah.
have the workforce going in there.
Right.
So if we stop it at a little tower, other people can get to downtown. Plus you have the big bus facility on Alakea.
Right.
Yeah.
And then from there, try to see what else we can do to how to get the people to UH and to Ala Moana. Because I don't necessarily feel that the leg between Aloha Tower and Ala Moana, the cost is going to be tremendous.
Exactly.
And it doesn't really, I mean, take people shopping, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah,
if
yeah.
we could go to UH, which is where we should have gone, that would make more sense.
Right, right.
Again,
Okay.
you know, we've tried at the legislature, we've assisted the city. It was very controversial to continue giving them the 0.5% GET tax. And yet, even as we speak today, there's talk on Hart about it costing even more in contracts coming in higher than what was anticipated.
Wonderful.
So this is not the
Hey.
end. It's very sad. I was on the city council back in the 1990s when we were talking about rail, and back then the federal government was going to pick up 90% of the cost. But we ended up coming up one vote short on the last day on the vote. Reen Mancho at the time, who was supposed to vote, was going to vote yes, changed her vote and voted no. And
Oh.
I predicted back then that if we didn't do it then, we wouldn't be able to do it because the cost would be so
Right.
prohibitive. And
Here we are.
here we are, and it appears that it continues to escalate. The cost continues to escalate. And you know, some of it I think has been afflicted upon by ourselves in the fact that we haven't managed the project well. We haven't had good oversight of the project. We haven't looked at some of the areas in which we can cut costs, and we haven't looked at the best way to put in rail. And that's too bad.
It seems like there's just all these weird hiccups that seem to happen. Like they'll dig a certain area and like, oh, there's pipes here, and like there's all these weird situations that it just boggles the mind. And for the average person just looking at the paper, they have to make another power plant to power the thing. We hear all these different kind of hang-ups, bones in the ground.
Well, you know, every project you'll get some of that,
Yeah.
okay? Because you don't know where all the EVs buried.
Right.
So you're gonna have some of that. You're gonna have some unknown pipes because it was put so long ago. So you anticipate that, and it's supposed to be part of the cost that you anticipate. And yet, you know, we didn't anticipate that the pillars were gonna start cracking, or the rail was gonna start cracking.
Right.
You know, we saw that, and I'm not sure how they've fixed that. But there are so many other things and cost overruns that should have been looked after, and I think better oversight would have been the answer. And yet and it's not just rail guys that we see this poor oversight. We see it in so many of government projects. I'm going to bring up the Hawaiian Airlines maintenance facility. Okay, the contractor was sued by the state, and we canceled his contract, and he was almost 85% complete with the job. But when they went in, they found that there was over 3,500 discrepancies.
Oh.